Good morning and welcome to Waking Up with Don. We've got a great show lined up for you today. I've got John Carbullido from St. Andrews Farmers Market, and I've got Chief Mark Bowen from Bay County Emergency Services, and he's going to tell you how to stay safe and warm during this crazy cold weather that we're having. Also on my Facebook page, I've posted a wonderful story of a young man who has Down syndrome who owns his own restaurant out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I got to tell you, if that doesn't warm your heart by reading that story, you don't have one. But we've got to run off to the weather, and Wes Pittman and the Pittman firm are going to tell you what's going on outside and how to dress. We'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back to Waking Up with Don. I'm here with John Carbullido from the Waterfront Market, or the Waterfront Farmers Market in St. Andrews?
St. Andrews Waterfront Farmers Market.
Farmers Market. Okay, it's a market. Are there real farmers there?
There are real farmers there. Even during the immense cold that we have right now, we have 4 farmers that are there on a weekly basis.
Wow, and what days do they come? Is it just a weekend thing?
A Saturday, and we are year-round now, whereas before we would shut down for the winter season. So right now it's just a matter of discovery, and we have, like I said, 4 farmers showing up, which is great.
Wow, what kind of stuff are they selling right there?
Well, tomatoes are very popular right now. Many of them bring their produce. We have everything from squash, we have watermelon still, we have pumpkin still, we have apples, oranges. They have the whole kit and caboodle.
Why the farmers market? Why are you guys doing that down there?
Well, you know, it's a community-driven market. The community wants a place to go ahead and congregate, come together, make friends, and they decided that it was also a way to go ahead and regentrify the area of St. Andrews, specifically Beck Avenue. So bringing people to that area with a market half on the St. Andrews Marina and half on the Shrimp Boat boardwalk, which is the Smith Yacht Basin, would allow patrons to come visit the market and therefore walk back and forth and cross the thresholds of our local businesses.
So who sponsors all this? Is this a city initiative, or is this a private initiative, or is it a kind of a combination of the two?
Well, thank you for asking that. It's actually the work of a partnership. The St. Andrews Waterfront Farmers Market is run by the St. Andrews Waterfront Partnership, who I work for, and as well the City of Panama City. They've come together to go ahead and deliver these events in St. Andrews.
Well, that's a pretty cool idea, I think. So what's been the response?
Well, the response has been great, and that's why we decided to go ahead and run markets throughout the course of the winter, because fall was so successful as was summer. We've been having...
fall is traditionally like a harvest season anyway, right? So you'll have a lot of stuff and a lot of people there.
We do.
But now in the winter, it's cold.
It is cold, and I was out there last Saturday, and it was very cold. I think everybody can attest to that. But we did have 25 vendors out there with 35 spaces that were filled, and the community was out in droves. It was fantastic.
That's amazing stuff. It's kind of a cool way to spend a Saturday, just to kind of stroll. And I remember we had gone when it's been a little warmer out and strolled around and actually saw some people that we knew, and it was kind of nice. And it was more than just produce then at the time. Right. And there were other things that people were selling there, right? That's
right. The concept of handmade, homemade, homegrown items are at the market. We have food. We have somebody that brings a smoker and provides great food in the morning for us. And for lunch, we also have jewelry. We have art. We have clothes. We have a lot of fudge and homemade breads and cakes and pies, and we have live music. It's just a community gathering place, and you can see friends, but you also can make new friends.
Now, is it growing, or is it, because I remember it was just around the basin when I went, but I've also seen some stuff out on that pier too.
Right.
Is that all part of the same thing?
It is all part of the same market. There's 2 halves to a whole. Right now, we're all located in one location in front of the Shrimp Boat, because of course during the winter months we want to make sure that we're able to make it convenient for the patrons that come and not have to walk back and forth in these extreme temperatures that we have. And as well, of course, they were just finishing some work out on the marina. But there are 2 halves to the whole, and throughout the course of 3 seasons of the year, we have the market in both locations, under the pavilion on the St. Andrews Marina and at the Smith Yacht Basin.
I know there was a honey lady out there too one time when we were shooting the open for the show, and that was one of the places we had to go.
Right.
And yeah, got some raw honey. Got some jam, you know, stuff like that.
We have a variety of vendors with honey. It may have been Ms. Mumpower that's out there at Mumpower Farms, and she's still there. And we have a few other vendors that do as well have honey. So honey's at our market, and so is a lot of other things that I think our community would appreciate.
Well, you make sure to tell her I say hello, and I'm going to come out to her little bee farm or whatever it is, aviary. We got to run to a break, but let's talk more about some of the vendors that you have out there. On the other side of these messages, you're watching Waking Up with Don. Welcome back to Waking Up with Don. I'm talking with John Carbullido from the St. Andrews Farmers Market.
Yes, sir.
Now, your position there is what? What do you do for them?
I am the museum market coordinator of events locally in historic St. Andrews.
And the museum would be, is that old publishing company thing that we're talking
It is the
about?
Panama City Publishing Company Museum and Visitor Center, and we're located at 1134 Beck Avenue.
I know, that kind of looks like a cool place. I have driven past it, I have to confess, 100 times. Always wanted to stop, never have. Does it have regular hours when it's open? Or?
It does. Tuesday through Fridays, we're open from 1 to 5:30, and on Saturdays, we're open from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay, so Saturday would be the day to go when it's open the longest, I suppose.
Absolutely.
You know,
you can enjoy yourself at the market and then go to the museum or vice versa and visit the other businesses.
What would I find inside that museum? What goes on there?
Well, you can see the reflection of 85 years worth of publishing work. 3 newspapers were printed out of that museum: the Panama City Pilot, the St. Andrew Bay News, and the Lynn Haven Free Press.
Now, the Pilot was the original newspaper in this
correct.
town, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, sir, it was. And we have some original copies still in the museum that you can go ahead and take your time and read. And we have many of them on the table, so you can go ahead and just look at what the headlines were in the stories back in the day.
Yeah, I'm kind of a freak for history anyway. I just love that stuff. So I'm going to make a point of getting down there.
Please do. We would love to have you.
We know about it because we live here. And a lot of people come to the area on vacation for the beaches.
Yes, sir.
Do you get many people coming over the bridge on vacation to come to St. Andrews to visit the market?
Absolutely, we certainly do. We have a very active board, and our board actually circulates what we call passports of historic St. Andrews, and they go to the beach and hand them out to the local condos and hotels out there. And many of the tourists that are coming out to Panama City Beach want something different on occasion, so they come over the bridge to go ahead and see what's going on in Panama City.
Because, I mean, there's only so much like partying and drinking and carrying on and beaching you can do, and maybe you're kind of older and you're not going to be going to some dance club or some nightclub. You're going to want to stroll with your wife and maybe do a little shopping, and that's kind of a cool option to have.
Well, absolutely, and from the feedback I'm getting for tourists that are coming in, Panama City is the destination. They happen to be in Panama City Beach for many reasons, but the destination is Panama City, and ultimately they end up in our city, coming on over to go ahead and eat at fine restaurants, look at local art, hear local music, and just visit the local places that we have available.
Now, there's a lot to see in St. Andrews and Panama City. I understand you have some sort of map or guide that people can get?
I do. It's called a Passport of Historic St. Andrews, and please come on into the museum. I have one available for you. Within it, many of our local businesses have offered some discounts if you want to go ahead and frequent their businesses while you're here, and it has a legend that will show you where they're located in our city map that we have on it, and it's available again at the museum.
Well, John, I'm going to make a point of getting down there and taking a stroll when it warms up a little, because I am a temperature wimp now. But once it does warm up, I'm going to go down there, and I want to get into that publishing house, and I'll give you a call. Please
do. And if I can add one more thing, we do offer tours of historic St. Andrews on Wednesdays and Fridays at 2:30 p.m. They're free at no charge. I will give the tour, or one of our volunteers, and we take a nice little loop around historic St. Andrews.
Is it a walking tour?
It is a walking tour of historic St. Andrews again, and it's about an hour and a half in length, 7/10 of a mile. So dress comfortable, wear some comfortable shoes, and even dress warm at this part of the year.
John, thanks so much for coming on Waking Up with Don, and make sure to get out and visit St. Andrews Waterfront Market. I'm here with Chief Mark Bowen from Bay County Emergency Services, and we're going to talk about your safety during this kind of weather.
Good morning, Don.
Good morning. Thanks for coming on the show.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, what does Bay County Emergency Services do for us?
We're responsible for fire services in the unincorporated area of the county, about 650 square miles, emergency medical services for the entire county, cities included, emergency communications that operates out of the Emergency Operations Center, and then emergency management for any kind of community-wide disaster, hurricanes.
So it's all about public safety.
Absolutely.
Now, what are some of the
preparedness?
What are some of the biggest risks that you see now with this cold snap that we're having?
The biggest thing, particularly in this area, is that it's just so it's such a rare event for people here, and so people who aren't accustomed to this weather, all of our homes are open underneath. A lot of people have exposed pipes, so there's a lot of pipes that break because they don't leave their water dripping, or they don't take steps to drain those pipes. wells can be damaged, and a lot of the areas of the unincorporated area of the county, people depend on wells for their drinking water, and so they need to take steps to protect those.
I would imagine for an area that's used to warm weather, that space heaters would be a problem.
That is, probably the biggest concern on the fire side is space heaters, and people using things that they shouldn't use to try to heat their home, like their oven or their stove. When it gets really, really cold and they're trying to just maintain some level of comfort, sometimes people will turn on their stove and just turn all eyes of the stove on high and things of that nature. And besides being a very inefficient way to try to provide some heat, it's extremely dangerous. People forget that they've left those things on. It damages those appliances. And space heaters serve a function, but if you have anything that's combustible within 3 feet of that space heater, then you've got a potential problem. And when that space heater is not being used, it must be unplugged. And a lot of people think, well, I just turn the space heater off, then I'm good to go. No, unplug it from the outlet, de-energize it so that there's no chance that it could have a malfunction and come on. We see a lot of fires, whether it's coffee makers or space heaters, where an appliance just decided to energize itself because of a timer or some type of internal
Well, space
failure.
heaters have come a long way. I remember them being these big brown metal things where you could see the hot elements burning in there.
Yeah.
But now they have ceramic ones. They have some that are filled with oil and things like that.
Yeah, they have plastics and
Yeah.
things that are highly combustible themselves. So, but it's still very important to read. All of them will have a UL label and they'll have some warnings on them. And the biggest thing is to make sure that there's nothing combustible within 3 feet of that heater.
Yeah, it's tough because some people, just don't know how to keep their houses warm. I mean, and down here you don't have heaters like you do up north. I mean, a lot of people have heat pumps and things like that that will take the chill out of the air and maybe make it a little warmer. But when you've got freezing temperatures like this, I mean, people are cranking up their fireplaces and whatever else they have.
And that's another thing, people who use fireplaces need to make sure they have a screen. If they don't use the fireplace on a regular basis, they need to make sure that chimney is clean, that they've had a chimney sweep look at that sometime in the last decade if they've never used the thing. Make sure that they don't have a carbon monoxide situation. A lot of times the flue and the construction of chimneys, if they haven't been used in a long time, can cause carbon monoxide issues. So, again, it goes back to the basics. Have a working smoke detector, because if something does go wrong, you're going to want to be able to get out of the house. Have a working carbon monoxide detector, and they sell combinations now where you can buy a kit that's got both in it, and of course carbon monoxide detector is not going to be placed in the same spot in the home as a smoke detector. But carbon monoxide poisoning is a huge concern when people are trying to heat their homes, particularly if it's not something they're accustomed to.
And that's kind of scary. And that carbon monoxide is odorless, isn't it?
It's odorless, and it is deadly, and it's it's been around for as long as mankind has been around, and it's been a killer. People after hurricanes die because of the exhaust from generators, because they again, it's something that they don't do on a regular basis. So it really does pay to read the short safety sheets that come
and there
with
are
these
safety
things.
labels on everything nowadays.
Yeah, it's real easy to say,
Yeah.
my gosh, it's a 10-page safety.
Yeah.
Then the first thing it says is, don't swallow this or whatever. It's crazy. But they need to really look at those basics and just make sure that they're not going to do something that could harm the family. So.
Chief, we have to run off to a break right now, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the EOC, or the Emergency Operations Center, that you operate up there, up 77,
Yeah.
I guess
Yes,
it
sir.
is.
Yeah.
And maybe you can describe some of the things that go on in there and what the taxpayers are getting for their money.
Sounds good.
And it
Sounds
sounds
good.
like we're getting a little bit of a bang for the buck up there, too.
I hope so. Hope so.
You're watching Waking Up with Don. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to Waking Up with Dom. I'm here with Dom. Did I say Dom? My name is Don, not Dom. I'm here with Mark Bowen, or Chief Mark Bowen from Bay County Emergency Services. And we were talking about the Emergency Operations Center that you guys have up there in the Southport area. That is Southport, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. So we had a great conversation during the break about insurance rates and how important it is to live in proximity to a firehouse.
That's correct. If possible, you want to be at least within 5 driving miles of a fire station in the jurisdiction where you live. If you're outside 5 driving miles of a fire station, the Insurance Services Office, which determines insurance rates for your carriers, they basically treat you like you don't have a fire department. And of course, no matter where you live, we're going to come and put out your fire.
But your response time's going to be a little longer if you
right.
live outside that 5-mile radius.
Yeah, they've been around. ISO has been around almost as long as the fire service
ISO.
has. ISO. And every
what does that stand for again?
Insurance Services Office.
Okay.
And they're based out of Wisconsin or someplace up north. And and really, it's a risk assessment tool that's built more for a municipality than a county like ours, but it's what insurance companies use to assess risk. And so the rules for ISO are very important, and they translate into what your homeowner's insurance for fire is going to be. So being within 5 driving miles of a fire station and within 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant is very important. In September, we were rated for the first time as an entire county fire service instead of district by district, and we received a 5/9 rating, which means if you are within 1,000 feet of a hydrant and within 5 driving miles of a fire station, you get the 5, which is a better insurance rate. If you're more than 1,000 feet from a hydrant, and if you're outside the 5 miles of a fire station, you're going to be a 10 no matter what. But if you don't have that fire hydrant within 1,000 feet, then you'd be a 9. So there's a big spread there in terms of what you can pay in homeowners insurance. And another thing too, fire is just a small component, of course, of homeowners insurance. Down here, the wind, your flood insurance, all these other things come into play and take a lot of money for people to be able
It's
to
funny, when we were shopping for a new home, that didn't even factor into our equation. We're like, ooh, we like this house, let's build it here. And just coincidentally, we wound up like right down the street from a firehouse, and we've got a fire hydrant in our front yard.
Yeah.
That was a pure accident because I wasn't,
very fortunate. But I would ask people when they're shopping for homes and dealing with a real estate agent, they should really look at what is my insurance impact going to be, because it keeps getting higher and higher. And what we're going to see in Florida coming up are flood insurance rates that could potentially put some people out of their homes. It's unbelievable what is occurring. FEMA has redrawn these flood maps.
Well, that's I kind of understand that. You live down here, and we think hurricane, we think floods. Yeah. We don't think fire so much.
Well, the escalation in price, I think, is what people need to be looking at right now. FEMA has redrawn the flood maps, so the base flood elevation for an area, what was a certain value, and now it's different, and so people are going to find out that their finished floor is a foot below base flood elevation. Their flood insurance is going to go through the roof. And so they just, it's something they're going to need to be educated about and prepare for. So when I would be looking for a home, just like you would want to take a look at that place after a hard rain, you'd want to see the inside and the outside of the home. Is the road underwater?
Yeah.
Are my neighbors underwater? Is everything draining into my, what I'm thinking about buying? Things like that. And, where's the closest firehouse? Where's the closest fire hydrant? Where's my law enforcement coming from? Just basic things that could become important once you live in the home,
because you fall in love with the property, you fall in love with the house, and it's like, oh, we live on the water. A lot of people will gravitate to, having water in their backyard.
I visited my in-laws over Christmas, live in Arizona, and they had my mother-in-law had broken her hip a couple of times, and she really praised the firefighters that had come to her home. And I said, well, do you know where they are? Do you know how far? And she said no. And so that's one thing we did. And of course, I'm in the fire service. I wanted to go meet the guys anyway. So it was very instructional and educational for her, and comforting for her to find out that these guys were just 3 minutes down the road. Now she knows where the station is, and she recognized a couple of them. So it's something that people can do. They can while they're out, go by the local firehouse.
I mean,
and see,
you're paying for this.
Yeah. And is it volunteer, or are there career people there, or some mixture? And just get to know the guys. And if you have any special needs or concerns, let them know, because they'll pass that among the crews as you're familiar with, and that way they'll have it on the radar.
That's actually a good idea. Just give them a call or stop by and say, hey, I've got an elderly parent who lives over here, or a handicapped child.
Absolutely.
And they'll know when they respond to that address what to look out for.
Part of living in a community, and luckily in Bay County we're still you know, it's a great county, a lot of folks here, but we're
Yeah.
still the size that we can, you know,
We're still small enough people will recognize
Right,
it.
right.
In the minute or so we have left, I want to talk a little bit about the EOC. And you were gracious enough to give me a tour of that place a while
Yeah,
back.
anytime.
And what goes on in there?
Well, you know, day to day we run, on our side of the building, we run fire services in the unincorporated area of the county. The 911 answering point is there, so the sheriff's office employees that answer your 911 calls work in that call center. My call takers that handle fire, EMS, and animal control calls also work in that call center. So they're there 24/7.
But that big room that you showed me, that operations center there, that is where everybody rushes to when there's a crisis, like say a hurricane or something like that we're used to.
Right, and in our community, 90% of the time that room is available for the college to use to train students for, you know, any number of different classes that they have.
So it really is a multi-purpose room.
It is. Most EOCs across the country sit empty, and they're a waste of space, honestly. And then, you know, when you need them, you need them. So you got to have them. But why not build something so that other folks can use it while we're not using it? And so it's just a perfect marriage up there.
Mark Bowen, thanks so much for coming on the show and describing what all you guys do. And thanks for helping us all out and keeping us safe.
Thank you, Don. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching Waking Up with Don. We'll see you tomorrow.